Congressman, thanks for being here, sir.
My pleasure.
Now, the vote in the House yesterday to override President Obama's veto failed, and that was expected. But you don't consider this to be a failure for repealing Obamacare. How come?
This is a step in the right direction. The problem is it's 5 years overdue. We had to get rid of John Boehner and replace him with Paul Ryan in order to bring this to a vote, but we made a promise. Number one, to repeal Obamacare. It has failed. It's a policy failure. It's a political failure. Premiums are going up. Deductibles are going up. More and more Americans, I think, are losing access to the doctor they wanted. Now it's incumbent on Republicans to follow through on the promise, and that is to pass a reversal, something better than Obamacare. And for far too many years, Republicans have complained and not offered a positive conservative alternative. I'm hopeful in 2016 we'll put forward a plan like the American Health Care Reform Act that would let Americans choose their doctor, pick their health care plan, and do that in a way that's friendly to our religious consciences, that's free of government interference, and lets us actually take on large insurance companies. We can put together a conservative alternative to Obamacare. We've shown we can also find a way to get over the 60-vote threshold in the Senate, and I'm confident with the Republican president will not only repeal Obamacare, but we'll replace it. We'll reverse it with something that's patient-centered and again, gets us out from under the thumb of big government and big insurance companies.
Now, you mentioned premiums skyrocketing, and as we know, premiums are set to rise an average of 12.6% in this year, 2016, across the nation. More Americans believe that Obamacare has hurt them than believe have helped them. This is a partisan issue in Congress, but is this a partisan issue to the American people anymore?
Not the constituents I talk to. They're fed up with that. They've lost their choices. Again, their premiums are going up. What is great to have a health care plan that maybe you can pay for, but you go in and you have a huge deductible. That's shocked a lot of people. The massive tax increases as a portion of Obamacare have shocked people. They're finally going to get hit this year by the IRS because of that. And Obamacare also steals hundreds of billions of dollars from Medicare. That's an issue that's not going to go away for the Democrat Party, and it's certainly something on the mind of seniors that are worried about the impact on Obamacare, not on just other people, but on the future of our Medicare system.
Now, the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, the CBO, they projected that repealing Obamacare would result in 22 million fewer people with health insurance after 2017. Is that accurate, Congressman?
I don't know if that's accurate or not. These are the same folks that promised Obamacare would save us money, and everyone knew that would not be true. But what is accurate, that if you put Americans back in charge of their health care plan instead of big government bureaucrats and leaving us at the mercy of large insurance companies, Americans are going to do a better job with their health care plans than letting Barack Obama do that, or Hillary Clinton. And so, forget the government experts who said this would save us money. We know better. We know we can put together a plan that's actually friendly to our religious consciences. It's actually friendly and won't make us pay for abortion. That was the other portion of this repeal. It defunds Planned Parenthood. The single largest political ally to Hillary Clinton is Planned Parenthood, and they barely got her across the line in Iowa. And for that, the president was more than happy to veto the override of our veto, or to override the veto, and clearly we can do much better than this.
All right, now the GOP talks a lot, not just about repealing Obamacare, but replacing it, and as they should. But my question is about messaging here. So Bernie Sanders, for example, his health care plan seems to resonate in a certain sense with Americans because it's so easy to remember. He just promises a 3-word solution to all our problems, Medicare for all. But when we ask the GOP what their solution is, they give us these long, detailed answers. And I understand that the solution isn't 3 words like Bernie claims it to be, that it is longer, it is more complicated. But how would you communicate to the American people the GOP's replacement plan just in 1 or 2 sentences?
It will focus on the patient rather than protecting big insurance companies and big government bureaucrats. There's no question about it. Americans need to be in charge of their health care, not Bernie Sanders, not Hillary Clinton, and not Barack Obama. There is no free lunch, but we can put together a plan that respects our religious liberties and actually provides competition in the marketplace so we can be free to choose our doctor, free to choose our plan. I know that's a lot of words, but under Obamacare, which is a version of Hillary Care, it takes away our rights and again puts these folks in Washington in charge of a health care plan, and we've seen the result. It's been a disaster.
Right, and free to choose your plan seems like a pretty clear explanation to me. Congressman, why are Democrats opposed to this? Not all Democrats, even in Congress, but especially the American people, they aren't all extreme progressives like Obama or Bernie Sanders or Nancy Pelosi.
Well, I think the Democrat Party has been taken over by the far left. There's no question, and most members in Congress that are Democrat are very far left, and socialist might be a kind word for that. But there are a few Democrats in Washington that have opposed Obamacare. They might not have voted to override the veto, but they didn't support as it went through, particularly because it abandons any pro-life position. Again, which Obama claimed and lied about in Obamacare. And as a result, many of them lost their jobs. But to the folks in Washington, D.C. and the Democrat Party, they have no desire to let Americans run their own business and run their own lives, run their own health care system. And yeah, there are a number of folks out there in the Democrat Party that believe in one word about health care. They want it to be free. You know, and when we have $19 trillion of debt, it's just shocking, I guess, to see the folks that are supporting Bernie Sanders many times are young folks who will be saddled with this massive debt because of failed big government. $19 trillion of debt. Obamacare doesn't reduce the debt. It adds to it. And so the very folks that are so excited about a free health care system tend to be the ones that are going to pay for it the rest of their lives.
Right, my generation will be saddled with that debt. Now, Nancy Pelosi criticized the GOP for not offering details on an alternative in this effort to repeal Obamacare. She said there wasn't going to be an alternative offered until after the November elections. Why the wait, Congressman?
We'll see what happens. I've been pushing Speaker Ryan. I pushed Speaker Boehner for years. Give us an opportunity to have that debate. Let's show us what we're for. Let's let the American people know there is a better plan. There are conservative alternatives that work. You know, giving Americans, putting them in charge of their own health care dollars, health savings accounts, letting us have more competition, find more places to buy across state lines. But what Obamacare has done is taken away our choice. Supposedly the Democrats are the party of choice, but in health care, definitely. They are the party of taking away options and choices and putting bureaucrats in charge of our health care decisions, and that's not going to work. And so hopefully there'll be an alternative on the floor of the House. But that's, again, up to House leadership. That's usually very unwilling to follow through on a promise. But if we're going to break through in 2017, I think Paul Ryan's made it very clear. He understands we've got to start passing things this year that may not make it through the Senate and certainly won't be signed by the President of the United States, but will allow us to move quickly in 2017 to put this country back on the right foot.
All right, let's talk about an example of one of the ways that Obamacare is not fiscally sustainable, and that's the country's largest insurer, that's UnitedHealth. They've threatened to leave the Obamacare exchanges. They claim that their participation in those exchanges has resulted in millions upon millions of dollars lost. But the CEO of Obamacare's California exchange says that UnitedHealth should be blaming their own management, not blaming the law. What are your thoughts on this?
I think they're probably all to blame. Many of these large insurance companies, I don't know about this particular one, they supported Obamacare. Large pharmaceutical companies supported Obamacare. And at the same time, you have leading contenders for president in the United States in the Democrat Party are demanding that we take on the insurance companies, the pharmaceutical companies. They put the plan together with Barack Obama and Nancy Pelosi, and it's been a colossal failure. We need to actually put Americans back in charge of their health care. I think folks get that. And I think we have great options out there. We see that happening in certain states. But again, what happens when you come in from Washington and one size fits all? You find out in California it's failing. You find out in state after state it is failing. We can do so much better, and I think the American people get that. But here's the problem. If we wait too long, this system will become part of America for a very long time. The damage will be sunk in for a long time to undo. So the quicker we can move to replace it with something that actually respects our consciences, respects our liberties, respects our freedoms, and respects our right to pick our doctor, the better off we'll get on the right track. But clearly, the system wasn't perfect. It needs to be fixed. I am tired of letting trial lawyers determine what a doctor tells us in the exam room. And those are kind of things we should fix. It's the type of things that Republicans should have fixed when they had a majority of the House and Senate and had the presidency. So it's long overdue to do the right thing on health care reform.
What's the next step in the replacement? We had this bill that would have repealed Obamacare, then we had the veto, then we had the vote to override the veto that failed. What's the next step?
Next step is to have the committees that are involved in health care to put together the plan. American Health Care Reform Act, I think, would be a great way to start. I mean, there are plenty of ideas out there. The problem is, under John Boehner's lack of leadership, they wouldn't bring any of those to the floor. He promised us he would bring a reform to the floor. He also promised we'd bring a bill to the floor to eliminate the IRS and have tax reform. He promised all kinds of things, and the American people got tired of it and said, well, we're tired of you, Mr. Speaker, and they showed him the door. We showed him the door, replaced it with someone else, and Paul Ryan has promised to bring those things to the floor. It remains to be seen whether or not that is it happens between now and November of 2016.
Well, hopefully some of those things do happen soon. Congressman, I appreciate you coming on the program. It was great to have you today.
Thank you so much.